Okay, so this will be another recorded lecture on the revised corporation code. So we'll deal today with the topic powers of corporations, incidental powers, and ultra vires doctrine. Okay. So as you all know, the powers of the corporation are exercised by the board. Okay, so due to the artificial nature of the corporation, it can only act through its board, which is the management, okay, the body that manages the corporation. Okay, so what are the powers of a corporation? So the powers of the corporation could be categorized into three: express powers, implied powers, and incidental powers. Okay. And the powers of a corporation could, express powers of a corporation could further be classified into two: the general and specific powers. Okay. Now, before we proceed, let's again emphasize the rule of the limited capacity of the corporation. A corporation could only act within the scope of its authority, meaning the scope of the powers conferred by law, these express, implied, and incidental powers, as well as those provided in its articles of incorporation. Otherwise, okay, its action is called ultra vires. Okay, ultra vires. Now, let's look at the powers provided by law. Let's start with the express powers. Okay, express powers of a corporation, okay, are provided in the revised corporation code. They are called express because they are expressly granted by law. Okay, and of course the articles of incorporation. These powers will enable corporations to perform activities necessary for their lawful operations. So you can find all the express powers in the revised corporation code. Now, if you look closely at the provisions of the revised corporation code, the express powers are divided into two: general and specific. Okay? The general powers are found in section 35. Okay? These include the power to sue and be sued in its corporate name, perpetual existence, adopt and use a corporate seal, the power to amend its articles of incorporation, adopt, amend, or repeal corporate bylaws, issue or sell stocks and admit members, engage in transactions involving real and personal property, enter into partnerships, joint ventures, and other commercial agreements, make reasonable donations for public welfare, and establish pension and retirement plans for its employees. So all of these are expressly granted by law. These are the express powers. Okay, let's discuss each power briefly. Okay, to sue and be sued in its corporate name. So what is the legal basis of this express general power, Section 35? So every corporation has the power to sue and be sued in its corporate name. So in other words, it highlights the separate personality of the corporation. The corporation can prosecute in its own name and stead, okay, its rights. And as a consequence, any liability of the corporation must be directed towards the corporation and not the people behind it. So this provision is crucial as it establishes the corporation as a legal person, okay, capable of engaging in legal actions. Okay, so the ability to sue allows the corporation as a separate legal entity to enforce its rights, such as, for example, collecting debts or seeking damages for breach of contract. In the case of Laureano Investment and Development Corporation versus CA, Supreme Court emphasized that the corporation must act under its registered name, okay, to maintain its legal personality in court. So is to avoid confusion, it must sue under its registered name. Okay, as the court might be, or the public might be confused as to who is the person suing. So the reverse situation is, well, a corporation is open to suits. Okay, it can be held accountable for its actions. In Lanuza Jr. versus BF Corporation, Supreme Court ruled that the distinction between corporation and its directors may be disregarded in cases involving allegations of bad faith, okay, allowing for the inclusion of directors in arbitration proceedings. So in this particular case, you link again the two basic doctrines, the doctrine of separate personality, which by consequence allows a corporation to be the subject of litigation. But if the corporation is just being used as a shield to commit crime or to do acts of bad faith, then the people behind the corporation may be held liable, okay, under the doctrine of piercing the veil. So the power to sue and be sued is a critical aspect of a corporation's legal identity, okay, enabling it to operate effectively within the legal framework. Okay, some other important jurisprudential standards in the case of Metropolitan Bank and Trust Company versus Salazar Realty Corporation 2022. Okay, there's a need, okay, to have a board authorization. Usually, okay, you need a secretary's certificate and a board resolution so that representatives in the suit, they may actually represent the interested corporation. So in this case, the court held that a case instituted by a corporation without board authorization is subject to the dismissal for failure to state a cause of action. Okay. So if someone appears in court and he is not the proper party, he's not, you know, he does not have the necessary authorization, then he cannot represent someone. So he has no cause of action. He has no right to invoke. He has no right that was violated. And therefore, he cannot institute the case. That's why, okay, to represent a corporation, you need a board authorization. Okay. In Shipside Incorporated versus CA, okay, again, uh, the Supreme Court ruled that the absence of proof of the authorization from the board will lead to the dismissal of a case. So in actual cases, tinitignan yan palagi sa pleadings. Meron bang secretary's certificate and board resolution allowing this natural person to represent the corporation? So kung wala, the case will be dismissed. Okay. So while it is true that a corporation, okay, can litigate under its own name, there is such a thing as a derivative suit. Okay, derivative suit, where stockholders may bring such suit on behalf of the corporation. And this happens when the board is involved in wrongdoings or refuses to act. So if the board, which is the tool, the mechanism by which a corporation can act, would not do anything, silent about violations on the rights of the corporation, then a derivative suit can be filed by stockholders for and in behalf of the corporation. Like in the case of Ago Realty and Development Corporation, okay, the Supreme Court explained that derivative suits allow stockholders to enforce corporate causes of action in the interest of equity. So again, derivative suit is an exception to this rule in the sense that instead of the corporation who will directly file the suit through its board, it would be the stockholders or the people behind the corporation who will prosecute the cause of action of the corporation. Now, if, for example, a corporation who is properly represented filed a complaint, but the complaint was not verified, okay, it was not verified, will that justify the dismissal of the case? Sabi dito sa kaso ni Republic of the Philippines versus Colbrine International Philippines, that aspect, that insufficiency in the pleading, walang verification, okay, could be cured. The absence of the verification and certification in the pleading is not fatally defective. So this, this is a topic in remedial law, but it's still connected to the subject. So the court in this case noted that verification, while it ensures good faith of the filing party, this may be corrected if lacking. Okay? So basta authorize yung representative ng corporation, okay, this defect may be corrected or cured. Okay, let's talk about the power of a corporation to have perpetual existence. Well, gone were the days that corporations can have only a maximum of 50 years of existence. Now, under the revised code, corporations can have perpetual existence unless its articles of incorporation would provide for a lesser term. So the change, okay, modernizes corporate governance as there is flexibility and stability for the corporate business. Legal basis is Section 11. Okay. A corporation is presumed to have perpetual existence unless otherwise stated in its articles of incorporation. Okay. And how about those corporations whose terms under the old code already expired? These corporations whose terms expired may apply for revival. Okay? And by revival, they can get already perpetual existence unless in their move for revival, they specified another term. So the default term of a corporation, okay, the duration of its lifespan is perpetual. That's the default term already. So example of how a corporation can exercise this power. Okay, for newly incorporated corporations, meaning those formed under the RCC, okay, if a corporation is created now in 2025, its articles of incorporation does not specify the corporate term. Hindi niya sinabi kung 50 years mag-exist, then by default, ABC Corporation, in this example, will have perpetual existence. That's the default term. It can operate indefinitely. Hindi na kailangan magpa-renew. Okay? Unless the corporation would voluntarily dissolve itself or under situations where a corporation may be dissolved. Now, how about, okay, application of this, authority to have perpetual existence for corporations which were formed before the RCC? How will this provision come into play? So, in the case of existing corporations with a fixed term, okay, like here, XYZ Corporation was incorporated in the year 2000, and as per its articles of incorporation, it has a 25-year term. Now, under the revised corporation code, it is deemed to have perpetual existence. So basta existing pa rin siya during the passage of the RCC, automatic, it is deemed to have perpetual existence now. Okay. Unless its stockholders would vote in a meeting to retain the original term. So put otherwise, paano kung walang ginawa yung mga stockholders, okay, ngayong 2025, and they just let the term of the corporation lapse? Okay, 25 years na kasi itong XYZ Corporation since it was established in 2000, the year 2000. Wala silang ginawa ngayong taon na to. Maglalapse na yung term nila. Since they are still existing during the passage of the revised corporation code, that corporation is deemed to now have perpetual existence. So if XYZ Corporation does not notify SEC of its decision to retain its 25-year term, then automatically it will have perpetual existence. Okay, dito naman, nag-expire na yung term ni corporation, DEF Corporation. Nag-expire yung term niya after the passage of the revised corporation code. So it has a 50-year term that expired in 2020. In 2025, its stockholders decided to revive the corporation. So DEF Corporation may apply for revival with SEC. Okay? But take note of this. Pag ni-revive ang corporation, it doesn't mean that all its liabilities are erased. Kung ma-revive yan, not only are its rights revived, but also its liabilities, okay, and obligations will be revived. Adopt and use a corporate seal. So, pwede na magkaroon ng corporate seal ang corporation, but that is only optional. Okay? So, if the corporation may adopt a corporate seal, this corporate seal is traditionally used to authenticate documents, meaning to show that this document really emanated from the corporation. Although this power is optional, or the exercise of this power is optional. Okay, amend its articles of incorporation. Well, the articles of incorporation is a very important document as it is, well, basically the fundamental, okay, rule or the fundamental policy of the corporation. Okay? It's like the constitution of a corporation. Yeah. It's the fundamental law of a corporation. Now, the amendment of the Articles of Incorporation is a very important power, as it allows the corporation to, adjust, adapt to the needs of the corporation. So a corporation can amend their articles to reflect changes in name, purpose, capital stock, and other key aspects. And this amendment, requires approval from the shareholders, as well as reportorial compliance with the SEC. Okay. So under Section 15, the code, a corporation may amend its articles of incorporation for legitimate purposes following these requirements. So kung mag-amend ang corporation, ito palagi ang titignan. Okay? Approval from the board and approval from the stockholders or members. So, as far as approval by the board, anong kailangang vote? Okay? Para sinabi nating may approval by the board, you need majority vote of the board. Now, on the part of stockholders, when do we say that there is approval by the stockholders or members? So you need this number of votes, at least two-thirds. Okay, at least two-thirds. For stock corporations, at least two-thirds of the outstanding capital stock. For non-stock corporations, at least two-thirds of the members. And then you need also to submit, okay, to the Securities and Exchange Commission, okay, the amendment, which must be certified under oath by the corporate secretary and majority of the directors or trustees. Okay? So ito, isasubmit yan, yung amendments, duly certified to the Securities and Exchange Commission. Now, after submission, anong mangyayari? Well, the SEC may approve or make some recommendations or deny the same. So the amendments, okay, take effect upon SEC approval. Okay? That will be the effectivity of the amendments, hindi immediately. Okay? You need SEC approval. Now, what if the SEC does not do anything, does not act on the amendments submitted by the corporation? Then, under the law, kung naglapse yung 6 months from filing and the SEC does not act on the application, where the corporation has not contributed anything that caused the delay, then the lapse of this period, 6 months, would mean that the SEC approved already the application for the amendments. Okay? So in action for 6 months, it means SEC approved. Okay, so amendments may be brought about by change in corporate name. Okay, like here. Now, take note of this case, Philippine First Insurance Company Incorporated versus Hartigan. So kung napalitan ba yung pangalan ng corporation, does it mean na ibang corporation na yan? The answer is no. Okay, the change of name does not dissolve the corporation. Merely amended a portion of its articles and its identity remains the same. It retains its original identity. And many corporations resort to this to evade liability. But in this case, it's very clear. Change of name does not dissolve the corporation, but it retains its original identity. Amendment is done also when the corporation wants to change its corporate term. And amendments could be done also if a stock corporation would like to increase its authorized capital stock. So in all these situations, in all these examples, ano ulit yung requirements para magkaroon ng amendment? Approval by the board, approval by stockholders, and submission to SEC of the, the documentary requirements. So i-apply mo yung amendments for approval. So kung in-approve ng board, in-approve ng stockholders, will the amendments already take effect immediately? The answer is no. Okay, the effectivity of the amendments would be from the time of the approval of SEC. Okay. Another express general power. Adopt, amend, or repeal corporate bylaws. Dito, articles of incorporation. Dito naman, corporate bylaws ang pwedeng i-adapt, amend, or repeal. Now, what's the difference between articles of incorporation and corporate bylaws? Okay. Well, corporate bylaws serve as the internal rules that govern the management and operations of a corporation, dealing or detailing the rights and responsibilities of its members, directors, and officers. So yung corporate bylaws, internal rules yan. It's binding to the people inside the corporation, but not binding to the people outside the corporation. So for a person to be bound by the corporate bylaws, a third person to be bound by the corporate bylaws, dapat talagang alam niya. But if there is no evidence that that third person knows the corporate bylaws of a corporation, then it does not bind, okay, this third person. So what are the powers of a corporation regarding the adoption, amendment, or repeal of its bylaws? Okay, under Section 45, the adoption of bylaws requires the affirmative vote of stockholders representing at least a majority of the outstanding capital stock or a majority of the members in the case of non-stock corporation. So if you look here, pag i-amend or mag-adapt ng corporate bylaws, ang required number of votes is majority. Okay? Majority. Majority of the outstanding capital stock or majority of the members. Also in Section 45, it says that the bylaws must be signed by the stockholders or members voting for them, and it must be filed with the commission, with the SEC for certification. Kailan ba dapat isa-submit tong corporate bylaws? Under the revised corporation code, it could be submitted together with the articles of incorporation pag mag-a-apply for incorporation, or it could be submitted after. Okay? So it could be submitted before incorporation or after incorporation. Section 47 further stipulates that a majority of the board of directors or trustees, along with the owners of at least majority of the outstanding capital stock, may amend or repeal corporate bylaws or adopt new corporate bylaws. Okay. So kung titignan po natin, there's a difference on the voting requirements when we speak of bylaws and articles of incorporation. Kung may changes sa articles of incorporation as it is the fundamental policy of the corporation, you need higher votes, two-thirds. Pero pag sa corporate bylaws, pag may changes dyan, majority lang ang voting requirement. Now, the amendment and adoption of corporate bylaws generally is done by the board and the stockholders. But the same could be done directly by the board if the stockholders will delegate this power to the board. Okay? So instead na dalawa sila na mag-act, meaning kailangan ng board approval, kailangan ng approval ng stockholder, this power to amend, adopt, repeal corporate bylaws may be done directly by the board if there was a prior delegation of power by the stockholders or members. Now, as to the delegation is done when stockholders, okay, who represent at least two-thirds of the outstanding capital stock will delegate this to the board. So the board can now exercise the power directly. Okay. In Loyola Grand Villas Homeowners, okay, South Association Incorporated versus CA, the Supreme Court emphasized that the bylaws are essential for the corporation's governance and that failure to adopt them can lead to problems with corporate operations. This case highlighted that while the law requires the filing of bylaws, it does not automatically dissolve the corporation for non-filing. So paano kung hindi nakapag-submit ang corporation ng corporate bylaws niya? What will be the effect on the status of a corporation? Well, you can argue that the corporation can become a de facto corporation as there is no complete compliance with the requirements of the law. Conclusion, the power to adopt, amend, or repeal bylaws is crucial for corporate governance, ensuring that internal rules align with the will of the members. So the revised corporation code provides a process on how to adopt, amend, repeal. Okay? So some reiteration para mapag-distinguish natin tong dalawang powers. This power to amend articles of incorporation deals with this fundamental document of the corporation, articles of incorporation. Kaya ang voting requirement for approval is for stockholders, two-thirds. Mas mataas. In corporate bylaws, this is an internal rule for corporations. Okay? As to the hierarchy, mas mababa siya kaysa sa articles of incorporation. That's why, in order to adopt, amend, or repeal, you need a majority vote only. Now, let's talk about the power to issue or sell stocks and admit members. Well, the power to issue or sell stocks, that's only for stock corporations. The power to admit members, that is for non-stock corporations. So a stock corporation, by its definition, can issue shares, okay, to, of course, to gather capital, to increase its capital so that it can achieve its purpose. Now, this power okay, is subject, of course, to legal and SEC requirements. Now, there is a penalty for unauthorized issuance of shares. So, dapat may imprimatur ang SEC so that the corporation can issue shares. A usual example of this, if a corporation, aims at expanding itself in order to, generate capital for this project, it needs to, or it may, okay, issue additional shares. Okay? Para may investors, lalaki yung capital niya for that purpose of expansion. Okay? Another power, engage in transactions involving real and personal property. So corporations can deal with real and personal property. In other words, a corporation can buy, sell, lease, mortgage, or dispose a property for as long as it's in line with its business, okay, or it is necessary for its business. So a real estate corporation may purchase land for development. Okay. In the case of Riosa versus Tabaco, La Suerte Corporation, okay, so the corporation purchased a real property. But take note, this corporate action, the exercise of corporate action must again be backed up by a board action. So hindi pwedeng ma-exercise ng mga powers na to kung walang approval from the board. So purchasing a real property must be approved by the board and authorized through a board resolution. Another power, okay, to a corporation may enter into partnerships, joint ventures, and other commercial agreements. So corporations can form partnerships or joint ventures to expand their business. So anong ibig sabihin nito? Okay, anong ibig sabihin ng power na to? So yung mga individuals in a partnership could be corporations. Okay? So individuals in a partnership could be a corporation. So hindi naman necessarily na natural persons lang ang pwedeng pumasok sa partnership. Corporations can enter into partnerships or joint ventures. Now, there is a prohibition, okay, for a corporation to enter into a partnership with a natural person. So what is allowed by law is for corporation to enter into a partnership with another corporation, as when a domestic corporation will enter into a joint venture with a foreign company for a new project to develop. Okay. And then a corporation may make reasonable donations for public welfare. Corporations can donate, okay, but it has limitations. Donations must be for public welfare or charity, not for political activities. Okay? So, for example, a corporation may donate to a disaster relief fund. Okay? So, take note of that. Corporations can donate with this limitation. It must be for public welfare. And lastly, under express general powers, you have the power to establish pension and retirement plans for its employees. Corporations can set up pension and retirement benefits for employees, directors, and officers. This is part of responsible corporate governance. For sustainability also in the corporation. So employees who are working for the corporation will be, motivated to stay in that corporation, perform their work well, okay, because of, you know, a retirement fund for them. Okay, so those are the general express powers of the corporation. Now let's talk about the specific powers of the corporation. Okay, the power to extend or shorten corporate term. So a corporation can extend or shorten its corporate term. Okay, that is outlined in Section 36, which provides the process for extending or shortening a corporate term. So how does a corporation extend its term? Okay, this one. By the approval of a majority vote of the board of directors or trustees. Ratification at a meeting by stockholders or members representing at least two-thirds of the outstanding capital stock or membership. So if you look at the process, you need twin requirements: an action from the board, approval by the board, and ratification. Okay, ratification. So kung may board action, extension requires ratification by the stockholders or members. How about shortening? Ganun rin. You need a board action, meaning a majority vote of the directors or trustees of the board must approve that shortening. And also, you need ratification by the stockholders or members. And the voting requirement is two-thirds, at least two-thirds, okay, of the outstanding capital stock or the membership. So let's ask this question. What are the legal requirements and implications of extending or shortening a corporate term? Okay, legal basis, Section 36 of the RCC, which provides the framework, the process for extending or shortening corporate term. Under this provision, it's required to have board approval, that's one, and stockholder or membership ratification, that's number two. So if a corporation anticipates, for example, a significant market opportunity that requires a longer operational timeline, so kailangan nilang i-extend to avail or to, um, get that opportunity, it may opt to extend its corporate term. So the board must first approve this decision, followed by a ratification meeting with stockholders. So yung twin requirement, you need approval by the board first, and then ratification by the stockholders or members. Now, what if the corporation deems it necessary to shorten, okay, its corporate life? Ganun rin yung process. You need board approval and ratification from the stockholders. increase or decrease capital stock. Okay, so the corporation can increase or decrease its capital stock. Well, of course, a corporation will decide to increase or decrease in response to business needs, market conditions, or strategic objectives. So it's a really business decision to increase or decrease capital stock. But how can a corporation do this? Under Section 37, it says no corporation shall increase or decrease its capital stock or incur, create, or increase any bonded indebtedness unless it's approved by the board through majority vote and ratified by stockholders, okay, through at least two-thirds vote of the outstanding capital stock. And aside from this, there must be a written notice of the proposed action sent to all, okay, providing the time and place of the meeting. So basically, the requirements are the same. Kailangan ng board approval and stockholder ratification with an additional requirement of written notice. Incur, create, or increase bonded indebtedness. Okay, bonded indebtedness. So this power is again in line with the need to increase capital, okay, for corporate operations. So like all business entities, one way of increasing funds is by borrowing. So corporations, in order to raise funds, may, okay, issue bonds. So mag-issue ng bond ang corporation to the public. So the public will give money to the corporation and the corporation promises to pay these loans or debts to the public within a certain period of time at a certain interest. Now, these bonds, okay, are securities. They are debt securities which obligate the corporation to repay the borrowed amount with interest. Okay, so umuutang ang corporation sa public, uutang yan, that agreement is documented or evidenced by these corporate bonds. So at a later period of at a later time, the corporation will repay these persons with interest. Pero dapat very cautious ang corporation pag mag-issue siya ng bonds. Titignan dapat ng corporation kung kaya niya and kung mamimit ng corporation yung goal niya through this issuance of bonds. This usually happens, yung pag-issue ng bonds, yung pag-utang sa public. Okay? This usually happens when a corporation would like to finance expansion, operations, and other significant expenditures without diluting ownership through equity financing. Okay. If a corporation will borrow funds, hindi na apektuhan yung uh, capital structure niya, meaning yung equity structure niya. Kasi hindi naman dumadami yung stockholders or members. So a corporation increases its funds through the loans it incurs from other people. So how can a corporation, issue bonds, create or increase bonded indebtedness? Under Section 37, sabi dito, for a corporation to incur, create, or increase bonded indebtedness, that action must be approved by the board through majority vote and also ratified or approved by the stockholders representing at least two-thirds of the outstanding capital stock, as well as there must be a written notice of the proposed action to the stockholders. Okay. So same requirement as in the previous uh, exercise of power. So you can see now the trend here. So pag specific express powers, you need board approval, majority vote, and ratification or approval from the stockholders or members representing at least two-thirds of the outstanding capital stock or members. Okay? A corporation can also deny preemptive right. Now, what is a preemptive right? Okay. Under Section 38, says all stockholders of stock corporations enjoy the preemptive right to subscribe to all issues or dispositions or of shares of any class. So kung you are a stockholder at mag-issue ng stocks ang corporation, may preemptive right ka. Okay? You will be given the priority to subscribe to these issues or dispositions of the corporation for you to retain, okay, your interest in the corporation. Hindi pwedeng unahin ng iba, dapat may preemptive right yung mga existing stockholders. So this provision allows corporations to tailor their capital structure and ownership dynamics according to their strategic needs. Now, questions. Okay? But kaya kung minsan a corporation would choose to deny the preemptive rights of stockholders? Okay? And what implications does this have for minority shareholders? Well, under Section 38, the corporation can deny preemptive rights to change the capital structure. Okay? And the reason behind that is, well, there are strategic needs. So hindi, for example, hindi pwedeng very dominant lang tong isang stockholder as his dominance may have an effect on the corporate governance. Kailangan siguro na i-diversify yung ownership sa corporation. That's why a corporation may deny preemptive rights. So, for example, a corporation may issue new shares to a strategic partner without offering them to existing shareholders. Now, this could happen if the articles of incorporation explicitly deny preemptive rights. Now, this corporate action can facilitate partnerships that are crucial for corporations' growth. Another example, if a corporation needs to raise capital quickly and the board of directors believes that existing shareholders may not be able to provide the necessary funds, they may opt to issue shares to new investors provided that two-thirds of the existing shareholders approve this action. Now, just like in the preceding powers, pag denial of preemptive right, you need board approval and also approval by the stockholders representing at least two-thirds of the OCS or by the members. Sell, dispose, lease, encumber property and assets, another specific power. Now, bago makapagbenta or dispose, okay, ang corporation you need these things. Authorization requirement. The sale or disposition must be approved by stockholders or members, ensuring that the interests of shareholders are protected. Okay? And then you have the substantial asset definition. A sale is considered to cover substantially all the corporate property if it renders the corporation incapable of continuing its business or accomplishing its corporate purpose. Usually the question here, okay, sa bar exam, disposition of all or substantially all corporate assets or property is this one. What do you mean by substantial? Okay? Substantial yung disposition if it will render the corporation incapable of continuing its business or accomplishing its corporate purpose. So, for example, if the assets of the corporation is 100 million, pero ang ibebenta mo lang is 10%. Okay? So, 10 million. But that 10 million represents the machinery used by the corporation to produce the remaining 80% or 90% of the assets. Kung yan ang ibebenta mo, then that is considered a disposition of substantially all corporate property as it will render the corporation incapable of continuing its business. Conversely, kahit na ibenta mo yung 90% of the assets of the corporation, let's say lahat ng na-manufacture na mga sasakyan, that is not considered sale of substantially all because it will not render the corporation incapable. Kabaliktaran nga pag nabenta mo yung na-produce mong, na-manufacture mong mga sasakyan, that will help the corporation to grow. Okay. Now, why do we need to be cautious with this concept of substantial asset? Not all dispositions of the corporation require approval of the board and ratification by the stockholders and members. If the disposition is not a disposition of all or substantially all corporate property, hindi mo na kailangan ng ratification by the stockholders or members. Yang requirement na yan, kailangan lang if the disposition will render the corporation incapable of continuing its business operations. Purchase or acquire own shares. Okay, another specific power that is in section 40, which states that stock corporation may purchase or acquire its own shares for legitimate corporate purposes. And the keyword here, pag mag-purchase ng sarili niyang shares, it must have unrestricted retained earnings. Okay, recorded in its books to cover that purchase. Kung walang unrestricted retained earnings ang corporation, it cannot purchase or acquire its own shares as it will violate the trust fund doctrine. Okay, again, what do we mean by unrestricted retained earnings? Unrestricted retained earnings, that is now the surplus profit of the corporation over and beyond the expenses of the corporation. Now, why does a corporation need to purchase its own shares. This happens when uh, the corporation has legitimate purpose, like when there are fractional shares. Bilhin niya na lang yan para matanggal yung fractional shares. In case of debts, to settle debts. And also, if there are dissenting shareholders, to compensate them. That's why the corporation will acquire its own shares. And last three, power to invest in another corporation, business, or any other purposes. So what are the conditions before a corporation can invest its funds in another corporation? Section 41 provides the rule. A private corporation may invest its funds in other corporations or for any purpose different from its primary purpose, provided that, number one, there is board approval. Okay? Number two, there is ratification from the stockholders or members. And number three, okay, there is notice to stockholders or members. So you see that this power is, the process in exercising this power is again similar to the other specific powers. Board approval, ratification by stockholders, and written notification. Board approval, ano yung vote na kailangan? Majority. Ratification by stockholders or members, at least 2/3. Okay? So that's the common denominator sa specific powers, exercise of specific powers. Then you have the power to declare dividends. Okay? Corporation, stock corporations, okay, have the power to declare dividends. Yan ang nag-e-engganyo sa mga stockholders na maging stockholders. So, question. What are the conditions under which dividends can be declared? Kailan ba dapat mag-declare ng dividends ang corporation? Okay. Second question. How does the availability of unrestricted retained earnings affect the director's decision making? And third, what legal precedents clarify the limitations and responsibilities associated with declaring dividends? So doon sa unang question, kailan dapat mag-declare ng dividends ang board? Under Section 43, the board of directors of a stock corporation may declare dividends only out of unrestricted retained earnings. So yung mga surplus profits ng corporation, dyan lang pwede mag-declare ng dividends. Kung walang unrestricted retained earnings ang corporation, the corporation cannot declare dividends. Okay? If the corporation has no sufficient retained earnings, it is prohibited for it to declare dividends. Now, hindi naman automatic na porket may available unrestricted earnings ang retained earnings ang corporation, meron ng dividends. The board must assess, okay, the corporation's financial statements and see if it should declare, okay, dividends. If the corporation is operating at a deficit or has restricted retained earnings due to loan agreements or other obligations, okay, it cannot declare dividends. Now, can you compel the board of directors to, can the stockholders compel the board of directors to issue, to issue dividends or to declare dividends? Well, rule is hindi. Okay? That's a general rule. Corporation, the stockholders cannot compel the directors to declare dividends. Exception, if you have unrestricted retained earnings, okay, that is more than 100% of the available funds. Exception to the exception, kung more than 100%, pero there is a legitimate move for the expansion of the business in case of emergency. Kahit madami ang unrestricted retained earnings, the board cannot be compelled to declare dividends. We will talk more about this when we speak about the proprietary rights of stockholders. And lastly, enter into management contract. This is a specific power of the corporation mentioned in section 43, which allows corporations to delegate management functions to another entity, thereby enhancing operational efficiency and expertise in specific areas of business. Okay. So pag sinabi mo kasing management contract, it means that the power of the corporation is not directly exercised by the board, but the board delegates it to another person. Ngayon tanong, ba't kailangan pumasok sa management contract ang isang corporation? Well, answer is efficiency. Okay, operational efficiency. Okay, the corporation may choose set of individuals who can perform the work more efficiently than when it's the board itself that does the work. Minsan, mas marami pang income ang pupunta sa corporation under this setup, as it will unburden the directors for, or it will unburden the directors with the performance of these functions that could be done by other persons. So pwedeng pumasok sa ganito ang corporation. Okay, but take note of these rules. And then under section 43, no corporation shall conclude a management contract unless it's approved by the board and approved by stockholders owning at least a majority of the outstanding capital stock, or for non-stock corporations by members representing at least majority of them. A majority pala to. So for management contract, majority ang rule. Okay. So in sum, pag specific powers ng pinag-uusapan, don't forget about the twin requirement at yung mas mataas na voting requirement. Okay? Approval by the board and approval by the stockholders or members, 2/3. They will continue with the other powers next meeting.